Good morning, everyone. Let's wait just 30 seconds or so we can get everyone on the line and we can start discussing on this topic. So waiting just a couple of seconds more till we can get started. Today we have a super interesting topic that we are going to discuss about on how can you utilize Lido to do better advertising. As we all know, advertising is getting more complex constantly, and at the same time, also competition keeps growing in this space. So that's one of the reasons why doing better advertising really has a major impact on the end result. I've been working myself in the marketing scene for the past 10 years, have seen the evolution from basically not having even a mobile optimized website till to what websites are today, which are all the time going to the more hyper personalized space. We are getting the crowd well online, so let's get started on today's topic. So my name is Mikael da Costa. I'm one of the founders of Lidu, currently running our product division and also working very much hand in hand with our clients and help in making sure that they implement the tools that Lidu can offer properly. Some of the features that we are going to discuss today are, from some extent, a bit more complex features and also require more participation from the client's end so you get the best use of this type of tools. But to summarize, like, why does Lido exist? I always like to start from why did we build Lido? Because even though many of you have heard of it already, I think it's a good thing to summarize before going deeper to what we are going to discuss about today. But if we look 3.5 years back in time, one of the reasons why we started Lido was that in average less than 2% of the website visitors actually convert to leads. From my point of view, that leaves a huge opportunity to the 98% of the people who aren't converting and looking at how could we improve it. I see that there's huge potential or huge untapped potential that not many companies are really trying to address. One of the biggest issues why the conversion rate is so low is that companies are kind of settling with it. They are not questioning like why is the conversion percentage so low and how could I improve it. One of the leaders' missions was really to bring that number up. So we also needed to understand like why is the number so low. And according to Marketo study, 96% of the people who come to your website for the first time aren't actually buying. And that's something that many companies should address, but they are not addressing. The second thing is that most of the buyers, so 76% of the buyers, actually make the purchase from the first company that they reach out to. So that's why it's very important for us to make sure that we are the company that they reach out to. And at the same time, also competition is growing. So previously, if you were fighting with 5 companies, now you might be fighting with 50. And it's not only the companies or within your country, but looking at Europe, the market is getting very much internationalized. What we understood that the reason that 96% of the people don't convert is that they are in different stages of the buying journey, and also they are not ready to buy in the first time, so you need to be feeding them information which is relevant to their stage of the buy journey. We also looked at this that you have the people who are aware, interested, comparing and decided, and they all need different type of information depending on which stage they are in. And we basically formalized it the following way. If you have people who are just getting aware of the problem, you need to help them, you need to understand them, and you need to give them more information. If they're already interested, you don't necessarily need to help them the same way, but you need to help them to get validation or additional information which might be necessary in doing for doing the purchase. If you're comparing, companies usually or people usually want to know, is this the right service or the right product for me? So help them understand that you are the right solution. Because if you are not doing it, it might be that your clients might go to competition. And if they've already decided, they just need an easy way to reach out to you. But what we are going to focus today is like you have these people who are aware and interested in comparing, who haven't made the purchase and decision yet, but are on your website trying to get more information. And if they don't convert, is how can you keep them interested? So looking at the advertising scene where we are or what we are going to discuss today is why should you do better advertising? And from my point of view, if we look at data and if we look at data already like 10 years ago, advertising costs have pretty much tripled in 10 years. And according to a Zenith study, it's expected that advertising costs online will grow 25% a year during the next 3 years. So if you are not able to triple your conversion or triple your marketing budget, it's going to cost you to double in order to reach the same results that you are getting today. But how can we actually make those ads better? And today we are going to focus on three great opportunities that every single person in this webinar actually is able to address. So focusing on relevant buyers. At the moment, if I look at most companies doing remarketing, dependent on who I am, what did I look at, the remarketing is pretty much always the same. Unless you are an e-commerce store and you are able to plug in product feeds, the remarketing asset is always the same. And remarketing doesn't feel that it's generating me any value. It's more that it's spamming you. And at the same time, as you are basically annoying consumers or the buyers, at the same time, you are actually paying to do so, which from my point of view doesn't make a lot of sense. I've tried to come up with very practical examples from a variety of different customers that we have at Lido in order to really address like how could you approach this. One very good example is buying different like modular houses. Probably many of you at some point have discussed or have dreamt about like, I wish someday I could build my own house. Maybe have even gone to a website to explore them. And we have at least 5 of these kind of companies as our clients in Finland. And if I look at their website traffic, we are speaking about 50 to 100,000 website visits a month. I would be bold enough to say that probably 50 to 100,000 people are not even seriously exploring about building a house. It's more daydreaming. And maybe it could be fine to spend money on keeping the dreams alive, but anyway, building a house requires a certain lifestyle as well that you are able to do it. But what we've tried to do with these companies that we have tried to narrow down the audiences that they should be remarketing to. Because if you have a remarketing audience of 100,000 people, you are basically doing a lot of advertising to many people who don't actually, or to whom it doesn't make any sense. Because what do you actually need to buy a model house? Need capital. That's one thing. Probably you might have the capital, but then you also have an option that you could actually just buy a pre-built house. Why start building from scratch? It's a lot of hassle, like included, and many even say that it's the best tool to get a divorce. So buying a house is a huge competitor for this, but if we look at the people who are on the website, we could ask practical questions, which allows us to really narrow down the best qualified buyers and nurture them. So one thing that we've done to a lot of companies working in this space is that we have a question within the bot dialogues asking that, do you have a plot in place? And we are not essentially even trying to do it from the conversion point of view. But if you don't actually have a plot, you are still a long way to go before purchasing a modular house. But if you have a plot already bought, or if you have it reserved, you have kind of like committed already that I'm going to build a house. The question is more from when I'm going to build it and from whom I'm going to buy the house package, or if I'm going to build it from scratch. So asking the visitor if I have a plot or if I have a plot reserve allows us to narrow down maybe between 2 to 10% of the website visitors out and focus the remarketing efforts that you were previously doing to everyone into this small group which are very likely to buy this type of house. Of course, if you have a huge marketing budget, you can start building demand, but at the same time, you are feeding your competitors as well. But with this, you can actually focus your marketing efforts into the most qualified buyers. So, looking forward, like how do you actually take advantage of these questions and how does it work with Lido? Because Lido is an extremely good tool to make your advertising better. So, as many of you of the Lido existing clients might already know, all the Lido buttons within the bot have a GTM event included. So we can name it as we want. So for example, for I have a plot reserved, we are sending an event which says plot ready. And with the plot ready, what I can essentially do is that I can go to the Google Tag Manager and I can create an event which triggers that when someone clicks on the I have a plot in place, it fires off the trigger called plot ready. Google Tag Manager reads the event that plot is ready and it actually sends that information to Facebook that plot ready / reserved. So with this, next time that I'm setting up the Facebook advertising, I can actually create remarketing for only to the people who already have a plot ready or have it converted. Another option that I can as well do is that I can actually create a lookalike audience of the people who are like the people who have a plot ready or have it reserved. So this actually allows us to do two things. One, it allows us to track the people who have already bought or reserved a plot, but it also allows us to augment our reach to the like people who are alike the people who have said that they have a plot in place. And this is a super powerful tool to use because it actually allows you to send a huge chunk of your marketing budget instead of advertising to everyone. So now you can focus on the most relevant buyers. The second great opportunity that companies have is to personalize remarketing based on the visitor information. So, what do I mean about it? So, my brother is organizing a wedding next summer, and he's been linking me a variety of different venues where he could organize the wedding. And to all of these pages that I've pretty much gone, they are doing a shitload of remarketing to me. And I'm almost in the point that even I'm married, I'm considering organizing a second marriage because the venues are amazing, but as said, I'm not a potential buyer. And the same thing actually happened last summer we were attending one wedding and we didn't know the place. I don't have that specific example is actually in Finnish, so that's why I took an English example here. But we went to that company's website as a wedding guest, and oh my god, the amount of remarketing that me and my wife got from that venue was huge. But of course, you understand it. Like organizing a wedding costs between 15,000 to 50,000 euros in average. So it's a huge deal and it's a huge process as well to decide the venue. So you want to keep yourself top of mind to the potential buyers. But now you aren't doing that just to the potential buyers, but you are actually doing it to the bride and or to the Batmans so and you are also doing it to the wedding guests, because could you imagine going to a wedding if you didn't know the place without checking that place out so you know what to expect? That's how most people do, and that actually brings a huge amount of traffic to the venue's websites, but it doesn't basically narrow it down like in any possible way to make sure that you are actually focusing on the best buyers. So now, for example, with Castle Barn, we have a question with the chatbot. I'm interested in booking a venue. And instead of doing remarketing for everyone, we are actually doing it to the people who are looking for the venue. If you have already booked, why bother doing remarketing? And also, if you're a wedding guest, that's just a pure waste of money. Or maybe someone can question me like, well, there might be potential buyers who are organizing their weddings in the future. Yes, probably, but I would still spend money on that in any possible case. You have better ways to attract the buyers. Question or an example as well is a training company selling different type of training sets for companies and also helping them hire apprentices. But at the same time, there's a huge number of apprentices on the platform. And now instead of focusing on one or two buying groups, it's again 75% of the people on the website are looking for apprenticeship. So might be that 70%, 75% of the advertising being done is irrelevant, or you might be wasting money again. Now, with being able to narrow down the the audience is the same way as you saw before with Google Tag Manager, it basically allows us to set up a right type of remarketing approach. Because if you are looking to hire an apprentice or if you are looking to upskill my staff, they are two separate services. You need to do the remarketing in two different ways for these type of people. And again, by asking these questions, we can make the remarketing smarter. Because the funny thing is that even we have this huge amount of data available with the conversation that Lido is having with the website visitors, it's not being utilized to its full extent. And at the same time, if you haven't aren't using any of these type of tools on your website and you are just doing remarketing for everyone on your website, you are wasting a huge amount of money on untargeted ads to unqualified buyers. You need to narrow that down so you get the best return over investment of the marketing budget that you are spending. The third great opportunity that you could address is B2B recognition. Now, if I look at companies working primarily on the B2B space, you have some ICP companies that you should be going after. But again, the remarketing is being done to every single visitor on your website. I've seen a huge shift during the past years from companies in the B2B scene going from Facebook to LinkedIn because they tell that, hey, I can do more ABM type of advertising, which allows me to target the specific type of companies. Now, why wouldn't you be able to do that everywhere else as well? You have that information with Lido gathered, and you have the Lido smart profiles in place, which allows us to identify like which companies are they, from which industry, from which headcount, from which revenue size. So you have a huge variety of data already available. Now it's more implementing that into practice. So how do we actually do it? So every time that someone comes to your website and we are able to identify like from which company this visitor is from, we can identify like, okay, they worked or it's company A, their revenue size is 50 to 100 million. They work on the logistics industry and they could also be involved on the airline industry since it's a freight company. Now, why wouldn't, if we be a company selling solutions for logistic providers, why would we be doing remarketing as well to companies who are offering building materials or accounting services, etc.? It might be that we have some services for them, but if they aren't our ICP, it might not. And now, as you are spreading your marketing budget equally between all these buyers, now with the company smart profiles, what we can actually do is that we can really narrow it down to the companies that we really want to go after. It'd be okay to spend 20% of your marketing budget into the general remarketing that you do to everyone, which might be like more brand focused, but then you also want to do tactical stuff that brings you results immediately. And when we look at what are the tools to create like immediate results, that's hyper personalizing marketing with the tools that we can do with Lido. How this works compared to the two previous examples that I just showed you is that every single time that Lido recognizes which company it is, we send an event called new CSP. New CSP stands for New Company Smart Profile. And every time that happens, we send that event to Google Tag Manager where we have these variables included, and then we can define that, okay, we want to do remarketing for these type of audiences. Or you could also just bring that data to Facebook, which allows you to do in Facebook or Google uh, company-based remarketing the same way as you would be able to do it in LinkedIn. Just that it's way cheaper to do it in Facebook than it is in LinkedIn. And now I know what we are focusing more on Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, but the same method actually applies pretty much to any ad networks that allows us to create remarketing audiences. So just if you have questions or doubts, reach out either to me or to your own customer success representative in order to make sure that you are getting the best out of these opportunities that you're just exploring. But how does this all tie into? So what do you need to consider when measuring performance? Because what I'm telling you is that today's buyer journeys, they are multi-steps. So it's not just like people coming once to the website and then converting. It needs various steps. And if I look at the tools that companies are using today to measure the performance, basically the whole data is essentially broken. Because most companies looking purely at Google Analytics data, they are only tracking the last touch before conversion, which basically leads that if someone came to your website today from a Google ad and you did remarketing to them, for example, in Facebook or in a Google network, and they convert after that, you are basically ignoring fully the first touch where they found you. That's why, as we understood that the people's behavior is changing and the market is changing, we need to be able to track all the different actions that people are taking and all the different marketing campaigns that we are performing. So track where the conversion was initiated, what was influenced, and what was the source that we used to convert this visitor. And that's why we have the new source insights in place. It really allows us to see like what's the source that initiates most conversions, what's the best tool to actually convert them, how many days does it take for different type of leads to convert from the first visit that they come to the website, what's the best source in different like sessions. If the first session, for example, Facebook might be good, but if you're doing remarketing, it might be that Google Display on the first or on the third session is the best tool to do it. We can also compare that, for example, Facebook takes 3 sessions to convert, while Google visitors take in average only 1 session to convert. As we see now, advertising is getting more expensive, so we need to focus on the best channels, which bring the fastest conversions and which are cheapest, instead of just nurturing and keeping the people on the remarketing funnels for a variety of steps. The more steps it takes, the more expensive it will be. So that's why we need to be extremely cautious about it. So this is what we had on our agenda today. I hope many of you understood the different type of possibilities that we have to do better remarketing and better ads to our website visitors, and also like how Lido can help track all these interactions and all the campaigns that you have on the website. If you have any questions, feel free to type on the chat. I've got a couple of private messages and questions which I will start at. So there's a question asking, does Lido help on the setup? So looking at how we operate this for the clients, we won't run the ads for you. So we don't want to position us on an ad agency. In these cases, we usually work together with the company's marketing agency to create the audiences by Lido, and then the marketing agency managing the campaigns. So we work very close together on this, and for us to help you on the setup, it's fairly quick and easy to set it up, and you don't need to worry if you don't know how to manage it. But it's very powerful. And next question is like, what kind of results have we got in different industries? Well, as the question basically states, it depends so much on the industry. What we can see, for example, on the construction industry and on the modular houses is that in average 2 to 10%, a bit depending on the campaigns where the people are coming from, actually have a plot in place. And those are the clients who are the most relevant, that they really want to reach out to and keep on the process. So very hard to say at this point, and from as well, it really varies from the clients as well. If there's no other questions for today, big thank you for everyone's time for today. We have the next upcoming webinars coming within 2 weeks. The next will be about how to double your sales closing rate. It's a very interesting topic with a lot of valuable insights on since getting leads is hard, you want to maximize like how do you get the full benefit out of it. Also, we are going to speak about integrated content in your marketing strategy, and also on how to identify the quality leads with interactive calculators. But if there's no questions more for today, I hope many of you sign up for the upcoming events, and we'll see you then. Thank you much for